I mean, as an activist, I thought that was quite big news. Actually, it was because of the political and the way that power is construed in Hong Kong, and it was front page news in the English newspapers. Because I think, but it wasn't front page news in all of the Chinese newspapers. And I was just interested to hear your views about that. Because as an activist who's been directly involved in legal matters, and so on, I can see how, in my opinion, I would say that the Chief Justice is the second most powerful person in Hong Kong after the Chief Executive. And he's probably about the second most, or let's say in some ways, like a tycoon like Li Ka-shing is in some ways number one actually, and then you got the chief executive, but then I'd say you've got the Chief Justice, and in my opinion, he's more powerful than the lawmakers, because he is involved in making laws, and as an activist, you can see how they kind of control the population using the law to do it. But Ken, you were telling me earlier that a lot of the political groups, some of their sort of hatred or dislike is sometimes against the Secretary for Justice, Mr. Wong, rather than perhaps the Chief Justice or so on. I mean, how do you see that? And
because I mean, in a way, you can say that Wong Yan-long is the one who execute to put the charge on the criminal. It could and how it goes. Yeah. So maybe Wong Yan-long is in the front line.
Yeah.
But who is sitting at the back? I don't know. It's like what you said was like the Chief Justice.
Yeah.
But the Chief Justice is not like taking it in the first place.
Yeah.
But if he is friend with Wong Yan-long and they're in the same group and if they have the communication very closely and probably if they come from the same source of power, I would say, then it could be very dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the Chinese culture is more close to the mainland ideology.
Yeah, I mean, it's because obviously I can see how some activists or political groups would view that because obviously they would view that the Secretary of Justice, he's got the power whether to prosecute someone or not. Okay, and that is you're right. That is a powerful position to have. Okay, and I would agree with that. But in terms of the bigger picture, in terms of the overall picture, and in terms of the long-term struggle for democracy, I would argue that the government are in a very clever way using the law to control and oppress or stop, for example, the real universal suffrage. Yeah, in a very, very clever way, and obviously the Chief Justice is involved in making the law, isn't he? Certainly in terms of the common law, as that progresses, I mean, but in terms of this appointment, this guy Andrew. What's his name? Jeffrey. They've always got these sort of very traditional British names, haven't they? Andrew and Jeffrey, and but in England no one's called that anymore. But it looks like he's going to be a continuation, isn't it, of what has been what we've had since 1997. And in some ways, I think there should have been greater discussion in the free media and in independent media about that, to get the people thinking and activists thinking about that, and why his position is important. Actually, his appointment has been announced.
So, for example, like your Tsing Ma Bridge case.
Yeah.
What is the role? What was the role that the Chief Justice were taking?
Well,
he was giving the opinion, or he was the one to make the final judgment?
Well, I would say the Chief Justice, you see, he's engaged in a lot of behind the scenes and under the table. He basically calls a lot of shots, actually, about, I've got to be careful exactly what I say on radio, actually. I've got to be careful. But let's just say, okay, you read things in the newspaper about decisions that happen in court, okay? But, there are decisions, people, it's only natural that the Chief Justice, he talks to different members of the judiciary, doesn't he? Yeah? And, I've got to be very careful what I say on radio, but let's just say, the Chief Justice, he does talk to people, and he knows people, and the magistrates, who are engaged in the political court cases at Eastern Court and so on, and but in terms of the law, the Chief Justice ultimately lays down the law through case precedents and so on, and that's where real power lies, isn't it? In a political case, in a court case, I know that there's a few activists from the Alliance Democratic Movement have been taken to court and so on. They're saying publicly that they think it's political persecution, and which I agree with. Let's just say, in my opinion, the Chief Justice has got a lot of influence over everyone who works in the judiciary, doesn't he? It's obvious. He's the boss, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah?
So how would this new appointment affect the future human rights situation in Hong Kong?
Well,
it depends. He's a bad guy or a good guy.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't. At the end of the day.
Yeah, I read this guy Geoffrey Ma. He actually went to the same university as me, the University of Birmingham, so he didn't go to like Oxford or Cambridge. He went to a little bit. It was just the universities a little bit below that. But I think he's a very he's obviously well liked by members and well respected. He's the kind of guy who can communicate and so on. But obviously he gets on well with the government, doesn't he? He wouldn't have been appointed if he didn't. And it's up to activists and political groups to watch him very, very carefully, and to make sure that even the smallest human right infringement is important, and it needs to be. And in some ways that's good in Hong Kong, that there are the media do watch even the small things, actually, in a way that they don't in other countries.
So one of the common things is that he also come from a famous left-wing university.
He did, yeah.
So he know all the tactics of the left wings.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yes, that's the way. Yeah, and you are coming from the same university as him.
Yes.
So it will be a good movie in the future.
All right. Thank you, Ken. And we'll see you guys. We'll see everyone in 2 weeks. Run out of time. See you in two weeks. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.